Hello, hi everybody, and here we are. I'm Judy Parsons. I'm with Marion Smith from Do Marketing. Thank you so
Hi.
much. Oh, thank you. Hi, Marianne. Lovely to see you.
Hi, Judy.
Thank you everyone for joining us
Mm,
today. And what Marianne and I are talking about today is how to get smarter with your LinkedIn marketing. Now, if you're wondering what the heck that's all about, what we mean by that, it's all about how to impress the right people, how to invite your prospects and inspire your clients to do more business with you in 2023. Because for us, being smarter with our LinkedIn marketing is about having a plan of action that you can commit to and follow on a consistent basis. And the reason that Marianne and I are quite passionate about that is because we see a lot of people go wrong on LinkedIn because they dive straight into LinkedIn without having a plan. They don't know what they're doing. The results they get, if they get any results, are very ad hoc, or they may use it as a sales platform. So they start trying to sell too soon. And this is something that Marianne is very passionate about. We're trying to go from people from being called to buy our big thing. And that ain't going to happen on LinkedIn. So people start getting disappointed, don't they, and stop using LinkedIn.
yeah, exactly.
So for us, we're sort of talking about smarter LinkedIn marketing, and it's come about because of feedback that Marianne and I did when we had our LinkedIn Love-ins, our previous LinkedIn Love-ins, where we were talking about how using the principles of customer journey marketing with LinkedIn can, excuse me, can really ramp up those results. So much so that actually Marianne and I have decided to work together and to run a half-day workshop, which we're going to do in Leeds next month. And it's all about how to create your plan and get smarter with your LinkedIn marketing. So what we want to do today is to sort of give you a flavor of that to help you get started with understanding how to get smarter with LinkedIn. And if you then feel you'd like to get a bit, dig deeper on that and know a little more about it, we will talk about the workshop a little bit at the end, if that's okay. And of course, we do like to make it as interactive as possible. So any questions, pop them into the comment box and we'll have a look at those as we go along. But enough waffle from me. Let's get these wonderful insights from Marianne. So let's get started. And Marianne, you're big on plans. Why do you think now more than ever do we need to have a plan for LinkedIn?
Okay, so I talk about planning, obviously, and strategy as part of being part of what I do in terms of being a marketer. But I think we have to think about the last 12 months and where we've come from, particularly as we enter 2023. Decisions are taking longer, people are less confident to make that step. The current climate, we don't really know what's around the corner. So we have to take a step back and we have to create that plan in order for us to know what to do next. So what are we doing on LinkedIn? Yeah, who are we talking to on LinkedIn? What content do I put out there? And as you know, Judy, this is what people say, I'm on LinkedIn and I don't know where to start. So I always say to people, you imagine a line, what you're doing, you're here and you're jumping here and you want to sail. Okay. Now, what we need to do is take you back. And that's what we're going to do in the workshop. We're going to take everyone back to know where they need to start. So I think if we all think of the current climate, 2023, why do I need to do this now? I think as well, as we're seeing a lot of noise on LinkedIn, and how do you stand out from that noise? So there is a lot of competition. I think LinkedIn, the people who I'm talking to can see that LinkedIn is slightly changed. There's a lot of stuff on there. We're seeing people with cats and dogs and things like that. And, is that appropriate for LinkedIn? Are people just putting that on there because, do you know what? I've got my Tuesday post on there. I've done my Friday afternoon wrap up for the week. I've just put anything on there. But that's because they're using LinkedIn as, I'm just putting anything on there, not what they're thinking that actually, what do I want from LinkedIn? How do I want to be seen? How do I want to help people? But the steps to take, and like we said earlier, it's like if you think about networking, you wouldn't burst into the room and start talking rubbish. You would go to that person. Yeah, you go to that person who who you're familiar with, that you could strike up a conversation with because you understand them a little bit better. So that's why I think this is vital now. It's not just a nice thing to do to get better on LinkedIn, but it's really important to use it as one touch point. We were talking earlier about this. It takes 6 to 8 touch points to get to an initial meeting. This is just one of them. So we have to do it right. And this is why the plan is really, really important. So
I love that. Yeah. I was talking to somebody earlier today that they were saying that they were really a bit fed up of LinkedIn because it just felt like it was all hustle. Everybody's hustling. And actually, if we want to be different, we want to stand out, we need to be there being seen, adding value. But why I say adding value, because that's a bit kind of, vague, isn't it? But, helping, educating, being insightful, being interesting to our clients. And one of the things that people say to me is, and I think it's really important that because LinkedIn is not a sales platform, as everybody knows. It's what a lot of people say to me that they want is that they want conversations with their ideal clients, the people who know what it is they do and actively want to talk to them. So in order to go from somebody you don't know's cold here to getting that conversation, that warm conversation, you can't just dive in, can you? You need to. You can't just go, I'm just going to do lots of ad hoc activity and hope that somebody wants to have a conversation with me.
Exactly. So it is like throwing, paint at a wall and think, if I put anything out there, I'm going to be seen and people are going to react to what I'm talking about. So where we need to start with that, and what I would recommend is that we just look at our profile, because quite often people do the profile and they've got, they haven't looked at it in 5 years. So if we think about your target market, who do you want to get in front of? So where people start, well, I can service anyone. I can, I want to get in front of as many people as possible without looking at where it's actually really easy. And that's where you look at the clients you're working with now. So, who pays you on time, who's happy, who's loyal, who do you enjoy working with? And I'm not saying, pick 10, maybe pick 1 or 2, have that person in your mind and then work backwards, because the reason why is because you understand what their struggles are. You understand how you work with them and what benefits they get from working with you. So we call it pains and gains. What's the pains? What do you do for them? And what do they get from working with you? So if you know that from your current clients, then you can start and think around, okay, so how can we profile and create our target market from the people we want to get in front of?
And that's low hanging fruit, isn't it? Who do you already know? Who loves you? Who do you love? Who do you want more of? Absolutely. So when we look at our plan, it's fundamental, isn't it? So for me, a plan starts with, why are you on LinkedIn? So I am going to assume that everybody here is on LinkedIn because they want to use it to help grow their business and get more of the right clients coming to them in 2023. So then in order to get the right clients coming to you, you have to know the clients that you want. Presumably. Yeah.
So whether that's a sector that you work in, but you could obviously, if you looked at professional services, you can break that down into accountants. You can break that down into a region, into a city. If you think of how many accountants there are in Leeds, that is a market there that you can crack because you understand what their problems are because you're working with accountants already. So doesn't that make it easy to be razor sharp, understand what the struggles are? I'm going to talk about content in a moment, but you focus on who you've got and you want your best clients, and then you want to go out and find more just like them. So the planning session, we'll be creating a client avatar. We've got templates for everyone to fill in to create that ideal person and their target market from there.
Yes, that's brilliant. Because for me, I always say, for me, on LinkedIn, knowing who you're talking to underpins everything. So it underpins what you write in your profile. It underpins who you're going to connect with, because we're not connecting with anyone and everyone. We're connecting with people who are going to be interested in what we've got to say, because then you're going to start posting content that they're going to be interested in, and then that will encourage them to engage with it because they're interested in what you've got to say. So it's like, I know it's a no-brainer. I shouldn't say that really, should I? But it's easier said than done. I think that's the problem for people. Is that, who do you, when you have one-to-ones with people and they say, right, how can I help you? Who do you want introductions to? And you go, it could be anyone. It's hard sometimes to articulate, isn't it, who your ideal client is or who your target audience is, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. I remember at Christmas time when I was saying to the kids, what do you want? What do you want? Oh, anything. And then I'd say, just name me one thing that you want. And that made my life easier. So if you're saying to somebody who could go on and refer you, I want to speak to this accountant, this is his name. You make, you really, really fine tune it. And then it's the steps you take from that to get in front of that person. So I guess that comes with the content, Judy. Yeah. in terms of what do we talk about on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's another big problem then, isn't it? So
Yeah.
again, and I think what we're really trying to emphasize is how important it is, because if you are confident about who your audience is, or if you know who your audience, that then gives you confidence with the posting, doesn't it? Because another problem is that people don't know what to post on LinkedIn. Or
Yeah.
and for me, LinkedIn, you know, content doesn't have to be any different for LinkedIn than it is on any other. You know, if you're blogging or if you're on, dare I say, Facebook, but you know, any wherever else you're putting your content, LinkedIn doesn't necessarily have to be different.
No,
But
it
it still
doesn't.
needs to be relevant, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you can, once you understand what the pains and gains are, the sales messages you can use them in networking. You can use them on guides. You can use them in tips. You can use them in so many ways. But to understand, you know, to get familiar with those, what, you know, what's a pain, what's a gain, it just takes some time to think about. And I think one of the biggest things you've said there is confidence. You know, I'm putting stuff out there, but I'm getting nothing from it. And that's the biggest kind of failure when it comes to LinkedIn. It is one of the touch points I mentioned, one of the earliest touch points, but it's the start of people getting to know you. So what are we going to be looking at in terms of our plan at the workshop? We're going to be helping you work out what you want to be famous for. That's your arch. That's the ultimate thing you want to be famous for. So if I want to be famous for customer journey marketing, that's my arch. What comes under that are the pillars. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to help you formalize those pillars. So I talk about customer journey, customer experience, marketing strategy, marketing plan. I know any content I put that has those pillars in mind, I am becoming an influencer. I am becoming that person who talks about that, to the point I'm now included in customer journey marketing, in customer experience. And then we're also going to break, well, how do you break that down? So we're going to be looking at your bucket. So what looks like a good education piece? What looks good as a showcase? Yeah, so if I'm doing a workshop in Leeds, that's my showcase piece. What looks good in terms of a sales piece? You don't sell on LinkedIn, but now and then you can. You could throw out the fact, like we did today. We're doing a LinkedIn Lovin'. Do join us. That's okay to do that. And then we're going to look at things like community. It's a bucket that we can fill in terms of the accountancy community or what we're doing in Leeds. Can you start and see the value and the flavour of our content that we're putting out there? And finally, timely. Now, in your industry, there will be lots of things to do with the time of year, recent legislation that's coming in. So you imagine those 5 buckets poured into your pillars to make you that famous, that key person of influence. You're going to go away with lots of confidence and clarity in terms of what you push out there. You agree, Judy?
I do. And do you know what? I'm going to be personally quite very interested in this, because I excuse me, sorry. I do get people do know me. I guess my pillar is the LinkedIn lady, and people do know me. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I see you on LinkedIn," which I'm going, "Oh, God." I've had at least 2 or 3 conversations just this week. People say, "Oh, yeah, we know you." It's all from LinkedIn. So, but I think for me, I like the approach of having that overall arch, and then the pillars underneath, and then the buckets, because that gives a structure, and I like having a structure that I can work from. That really helps. And even if you know, a lot of people do ask about selling on LinkedIn. I mean, I think the quote is like 80-20. You know, 80% of your post should not be a sales post, but at the same time, we still need to tell people what we do and how we can help. And
Definitely.
I call it posts where tell people what you do without telling them what you do. So, for example, I've seen people who are speakers, and they'll go, "I'm speaking here today," and you're not saying I speak. If you want to speak, let me know. You're out and about. You're doing, like, I'll do posts where I'm training, and I'm here training. I did one last week because it was 10 years as the LinkedIn lady. I'm celebrating on Valentine's Day, and I did a post, and it was me training. So I'm saying I do LinkedIn training, by the way, without saying I do LinkedIn training. It's that kind of approach that I quite like. How can you say what you do without saying what you do? Because people will. So it's putting some context, and I don't know, purpose or gist around it or something.
Yeah, and another way you can do that, which is some of the tips we're going to be giving away at the session. Another way you can, if you're doing something, so if, for instance, if I was mapping out a welcome window, yeah, so what are the nice things that you can do to onboard your clients? So we look at things like terms and conditions, we look at things like that lovely warm welcome window, you know, the nice emails. But what I will do on LinkedIn, I will say something like @ and I'll name the company, working with @ and I'll put the names in, you know, they've got a brilliant on board, and we spent the day doing, you know, looking at their welcome window. And like you say, you know, it's actually me who's helped them with the welcome window, and it's for other people to think I could do with some of that. And then as long as I'm talking about that in the context of the customer journey, then that's okay. I'm actually pushing somebody else forward, but actually what I want people to see is that I'm helping that person. So like pushing that hero forward. That's how I describe it.
Oh yeah, the hero. Of course, you're making them the hero. As long as they're happy to do it. I did get approval from the client that I was training to do that. So you do kind of just need to make sure that they're okay with that. And most people are, because they like the visibility on LinkedIn and stuff. But yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic, lovely. So obviously we're going to be covering all of that, but again, you know, understanding who your audience is, you know, you have to know. So you're going to, you know, what you're going to be famous for, and then you have to know what the excuse me, what the pains are of your audience that you help solve, essentially, isn't it? And then apply it into those buckets.
Yeah, exactly. So people don't want to know how long your business has been there. They don't want to know, you know, that you're friendly and reliable. People don't want to know how big your team is. What you need to really, we help you take a step back. I'm not interested. Take a step back. Right. Okay. What does that mean? You know, does it saving them time? Is it making them more money? That's fundamentally what you want. So we will challenge you in the workshop, because like I say, we want you to come away with that toolkit. This is what I'm doing. This is who I'm going after. This is what I'm going to say to them. But then, you know, other things we're going to be looking at: how do you direct message people? What's that step approach to actually taking it offline? So when you see, which drives me insane, when you see a LinkedIn request, I think all of us are a little bit, am I going to LinkedIn with them? And are they going to send me a sales message? And when they do, we know that's not the right etiquette to do on LinkedIn. And that's what the little tricks of the trades we're going to talk through, and how you take that conversation offline to look at the other touch points in the customer journey to get your marketing plan and your LinkedIn plan spot on.
Yeah, love that. Love that. And actually, everybody, I'm just looking at some of the comments, you know, Mike Bedford has said, you know, speak the language of your clients.
Yeah,
and I think that's absolutely right, Mike, isn't it? You know, it's not about us, it's about them. And Julian agrees, everybody's nobody, and things like that. The House Whisperer. And Michael's actually going to be doing a post about speaking to your audience. So that's really, really interesting.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, that's good. And I think that's a good way, your voice. So, you know, I want to attract people who I enjoy working with. So my posts are very short, snappy. You know, I'll put things like, not sure, you know, I'll use that language, you know, because people meet me, they don't want me to suddenly become Miss Corporate Head on LinkedIn. It's okay to get your personality through, that you want people to be attracted by that tone of voice that you've got. So that's a really good point. Thank you for that.
And I think the other thing as well, it's not just about posting content. And the other thing I'm quite big on is that it's not just about you pushing stuff out, it's about having conversations. So we can also go in and comment on other people's posts, because that can be equally valuable. It's like mini posting and things like that. So we can have conversations. That's what we're looking to do with our, you know, raising our visibility, is to have those conversations with people and stuff. So I do enjoy doing the whole engagement. So for me, posting isn't about posting lots. I'd rather do less and make it consistent rather than just post for the sake of it. So I guess it's all about, that's why you need a plan, isn't it? And as part of that plan is that content strategy. So you've got an idea of what you're posting, and that therefore gives you the confidence.
Yeah. What do you want to be known for? Yeah. If we said to you, what do you want to be known for in your area, in your profession? And that's you becoming an influencer, because you've got the confidence from your plan to keep reverting back to, in terms of, right, I understand what I want to be famous for. I know the pillars I'm going to stick to. I'm not going to talk rubbish. I'm going to stick to those things. And then all of a sudden you are becoming that taller poppy in the field. You're starting to stand out from the competition that I mentioned earlier, you know, in terms of getting in front of people, and for those decisions to be that decision time to be shorter, because you're starting to create head turns. Now this is about people going, wow, I like that comment, I like that post, it's leading me to the website, which has got good content and all there. That's where you do a leapfrog over the competitions, all fighting for the same business.
Same thing. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It's really, and then of course that drives traffic back to your profile, which again, it's really important. If you haven't actually updated your profile to talk to your audience, it's like sending people to an error page on a website, I think. So the profile, I always say, has to be done first based on who is it you're talking to. Again, you can incorporate the pains and gains into your profile. So you want to be able to position your profile, and that's what we're going to be covering, isn't it? You're going to be teaching people how to actually go in and articulate who their target audience is. We're then going to use that information to then set up your profile to impress your target audience, because it wants to create curiosity. It wants to get people to engage. It wants to get people coming to you and going, I'm interested in what you've got to say. Let's connect, or let's have a chat and things. And we can really do that. And then I love the fact that we're going to be talking about having a content strategy that'll give you confidence about what to post on LinkedIn. And I'm glad you mentioned about the connecting and the taking conversations offline, because that is, again, it's a real challenge for people, isn't it? And it's not about going, because we get, I did a post recently, I did a newsletter recently about, how getting icky sales messages. And somebody did a post on LinkedIn saying that somebody had tried to kind of, data on LinkedIn. It was a horrendous post. It was like, oh my, it was funny because this guy's going, oh, you're lovely, would you like to connect, and all this kind of stuff. Totally the wrong way to do it. And of course, people are getting a bit fed up and going like, oh, I'm too scared of doing this and getting it wrong. So again, is how do we actually do that? But if we again think about LinkedIn and networking, it's all about building relationships. So they get to know us by what we have on our profile and by what we're posting.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about profile, we can also show them what's the right amount. So if you think people are looking at your profile, what are they going to grasp? If they see War and Peace, it's like, oh, I haven't got time to read this. So we'll show how, what does a good kind of introduction look like? What should we put in our experience section? What are the things that we should be ticking in terms of all the profile parts that you can do, and what happens if you miss some of it out? So you will come away with a really good profile that you're proud of, and also a bit of an action list and the things that you should do first before you post, before you start connecting with people. These are the things you need to do, those steps before you go out. And we've got some really good tips that we've both learned over the years that have worked and have made a difference in terms of our connections and what we post and how we look and what we say.
Absolutely. So for me, I 100% believe that LinkedIn is a primary lead generation platform. It's just knowing how to use it in the right way. So I think, hopefully you've got a sort of flavor today of what we're talking about and how important it is to have a plan, how important it is to understand your audience in terms of being able to write your profile and produce the right content, and also build your connections and build those relationships with people in the right way so we can get them off LinkedIn and into a conversation. So hopefully that's given them some, everybody who's listening, some sort of food for thought and some ideas and spark some ideas. But if anybody is interested in wrapping up their LinkedIn results and actually want to go and create a plan of action that they can use to help them attract and then convert and retain more of the right clients, as Marianne and I have been mentioning, we're actually running a half-day workshop in Leeds. It's on the 23rd of March. 9 o'clock at the 𝐋𝐢𝐬𝐧 offices in Leeds. So it is a face-to-face. You're getting two experts for the price of one, is what I like to say. You're getting Marianne's wonderful customer journey marketing expertise, and then I'm having to translate that and put it onto LinkedIn. And as I say, we're going to get clarity on your target audience. You're going to use that information to create a profile that impresses your audience and actually wants them to connect with you. We're going to give a content strategy that gives you confidence on what to post. We're going to look at how you can take conversations offline, very important. And of course, you will go away with this LinkedIn plan of action that you can crack on straight away. So places are limited because we are doing it face-to-face. So if anybody would like information on that, I appreciate some people might be here from that aren't local to Leeds, I am sorry, but it is a face-to-face session that we're doing. But if anybody would like information on that, we can send some information out to you about that. We'll bob the link in the comments as well if anybody wants to check that out.
Definitely.
Did you have anything else you'd like to add to that, Marianne?
Yeah, I just think that word confidence, I think that's absolutely key. You know, confidence your profile's right. Confidence that your connection, your content is right, that it's making a difference and it's not just blah. But also confidence leads to connections who are then looking at your profile and starting to read your content and see that you are, you know, an expert. You are an influencer in what you do. So I think if anything, you're going to go away with two things. That's the confidence on LinkedIn and also a plan of action in terms of where to start and what to do next. Most definitely.
Wonderful. Yeah. I was just seeing if we've got any questions at all in our feed. So Julian, what time do you start, please? So it's got we're trying to get everybody there for sort of 9 o'clock. We'll probably start 1:15, something like that. Where have you gone, Julian? There was another question there, wasn't there? I'm going to come back to you on this one, Julian, because you said, why do profile view numbers increase at the end of the month? I've never noticed that. I don't know why they increase at the end of the month. I can't say that I see, but it's interesting because we want people to come to our profile for sure. We're going to generate leads, and that's what all the content and the engaging and stuff is all about. So that will be interesting to see. It's good that you're tracking it. I must admit, I look at mine at a 90-day because that's the figures that you get, isn't it? I look at mine at my 90-day and I see how that's going. So that's fantastic. Is there any other? The best and worst times to post. So, okay, this is quite an interesting content question, I guess. But the best and worst times to post, I think it's the best time to post is when your audience is on LinkedIn, and the worst time is when they're not. But I actually think that so much traffic to LinkedIn is from the mobile these days that it's getting less important. For me personally, Friday afternoons is the worst, but some people find it really good.
Yeah. I find first I try and get a post out between kind of 8 and 30, and I've posted once on a Saturday and that just bombed. So I do think that's a really valid question.
It is a valid question, and it's, again, you have to know your audience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I actually quite like weekend posts, and I know somebody who works with CEOs, and they always say to me that their best engagement is on a weekend with the CEOs because that's when they've got time. So again, it all depends. And just to answer Kim's, Michael says Saturday mornings could be great. Just to answer Kim's question, is it better to like and comment or repost with a comment? Like and comment, Kim, my mantra. Actually, you're better off to comment and like, comment and like, comment and like.
Yeah, definitely. Don't share. I never share.
Don't share.
It strikes up another conversation, and then you've just got one comment on there, whereas the other, you know, you might have lots of engaging, really interesting comments, people talking to each other. So yeah, that would be my advice as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody. I think we're pretty much coming up to the time that we were going to allocate for today. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll be in touch. If anybody wants any information, as I say, on the workshop that we're doing, we'll be delighted to get that sent over to you. And we'd love to work with you and help you create your plan.
Definitely. So thanks, everybody.
We'll say bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.